What up? It's your boy T-Bird and a reaction. So this week I plan on doing in between along with my other reaction, including Western Wednesday. I'm not sure about Films Friday, but this week I will try to focus on the videos involving this weekend big event for wrestling fan. That's none other than WrestleMania. These weeks of the WWE show between Raw, NXT, and SmackDown will be the go-on show for their collective shows. As you know, NXT has extended delivery at 1 p.m. while following day 1 and day 2 of WrestleMania. Day 1 be later Saturday, and day 2 be on Sunday as well too. So we're gonna kick off the days. The first day of the WrestleMania week, as you know, Raw comes on later on for the go-home show for Raw, and possibly a little interlude of the go-home show for SmackDown. But other than that, we want to do it right by checking out the opening matches from partsFUNknown. As we first look at from partsFUNknown, 10 greatest WrestleMania opening matches, as well as right afterwards 10 worst WrestleMania open matches as well too. Because if you're familiar with wrestling in general though, and even said in the GM mode or WWE 2Ks that your opening matches need to be just as good as your closing match. Because if your opening is bad, folks might not want to see the rest of the show, or not even have any true confidence in the rest of your show. And especially when it comes to WrestleMania, it's best to have a good opener. As we are going to have a good opener coming Saturday, as we kick things off with John Cena and Austin Theory for the I'm trying to remember I'm not sure it's for the U.S. title or it's just a nostalgia match. Either way, it's a good way to kick off with that though. But other than that, we're going to also take out from partsFUNknown first the 10 greatest. What is be added to one of the 10 greatest matches or opening matches of WrestleMania history? Who knows? So without further ado, before we see that, let's check out 10 of the greatest WrestleMania opening matches ever from the past. Let's get it.
You only get one chance at making a first impression, or to quote the great Paul Heyman, if my client is not on last, we're not hanging around here all night to wait. The blistering opening match has become something of a sleeper WrestleMania tradition. It didn't always used to be this way. Spoiler alert, there aren't a lot of old WrestleMania matches on this list. After all, the opening match of Mania 1 is Tito Santana versus the Executioner. The opening match wasn't exactly a vaunted spot on the card back then. However, especially in the last decade or so, WWE have started putting stonking matchups on our screen straight out the gate, and it's time to give the curtain jerkers their due. Nota bene, for this list, kickoff matches absolutely do not count. Get out of here with that pre-firework bollocks. I'm Adam Hailing from partsFUNknown, and here are our 10 greatest WrestleMania opening matches ever. Number 10, RK Bro versus Street Profits versus Alpha Academy, WrestleMania 38. We demand more Chad Gable.
This was a good match or anything. It had me a little hesitant, a little scared on Street Profits. I thought they were going to try to turn them heel, but they didn't, thank God. But we still don't know what happened going forward.
On WrestleMania, the man who should have retired Kurt Angle at Mania 35 is apparently long overdue a singles push, and that's wonderful news. But don't get us wrong, Alpha Academy have been a best-kept Raw secret for a while now, especially when mixing it up with much-beloved replacement Broserweights rated. Let's
see what happened with either Street Profits or Alpha Academy when this little tag team match that they have at WrestleMania as well too. I got a feeling the Alpha Academy probably one end up breaking up. Who knows?
RKO. The opening tag match of Night 1 of last year's WrestleMania was sadly blighted by the impossible-to-cover injury of Rick Boogs. Night 2 began much more successfully. It's just a lot of fun in a way that multi-team tags have been in WWE since NXT lads started bouncing up to the main roster. Montez Ford and Chad Gable, two major guys to watch, and hopefully the near future, spring all over the place in this one. Everyone gets a little something fun to do, ending with an RKO out of nowhere. Familiar, fast, and fun. Number 9, the Intercontinental title ladder match, WrestleMania 32. Not gonna lie to you, there are quite a few ladder matches on this list, just throwing a bunch of athletic and passionate mid-carders into a spot.
Featuring a Cody Rhodes.
Something on the line is the closest thing WWE has to an open goal. Roll up WrestleMania 32 and KO Mania 1. A bunch of good flippy lads, or at least the ones who had their body parts explode in the lead up to this Mania. Sorry Cesaro, sorry Neville. Put out all the stops and go hell for balls for our entertainment. The match is so good that it briefly convinced everyone that WrestleMania 32 might have been all right. AJ Styles losing his first Mania match immediately put paid to that, though. Not only did Zack Ryder win this match in a briefly wonderful dad-cuddling surprise, but Sammy's dive through the ladder, Kevin Owens' soul leaving his body in that horrific spot, Stardust's big dumb ladder. Lots of
running. We seen three faces that's been included in the Bloodline story, man. So Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Cody Rhodes.
Fun, even though Zack Ryder's dreams were then shot through the head 24 hours.
Still mad at that bullshit. They gonna let that man lose it right. The Monday Raw right after did him so dirty, man.
Later, when The Miz's beautiful wife made her proper main roster return. Number 8, AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 33. As we briefly talked about, AJ Styles' first Mania match, let's not talk about it. The moment he lost to Chris Jericho, you could feel the air being sucked out harder than a Kurt Angle branded vacuum cleaner. The night never really recovered, no matter how many part-timers they threw at us. AJ's next Mania match, though, much better, even if it did take place inside a wind tunnel for the majority of it. AJ's soccer mom hair is not built for wind, god damn it. Back in 2017, the idea of a lengthy AJ Styles WWE title run still filled people with joy, so fighting Adidas Grandpa at Mania wasn't anyone's idea of a suitable matchup for the phenomenal one, but Tickle Me Elmo, the two lads pulled it off. A legit great matchup, given time to build with some typically silly Shane-o-Mac spots, and a dominant win for Styles. Don't think anyone expected to hear "This is awesome" chants during this one, but they were there.
I think AJ turned face right afterward because they had a respect little moment on the SmackDown after.
Because I were there. Number 7, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, WrestleMania 36, Night 2.
We getting that call back to this year as well too. So yeah, I kind of hope it's a double turn between them two as well too, because I'd rather root for Rhea than Charlotte, but who knows? For right now, I'm kind of not rooting for neither two right now, because Rhea's a heel. Fortunately, Rhea's a heel or anything, and Charlotte, she's supposed to be a face, but it's like you're treading on thin water rooting for Charlotte, so I'm not gonna root for neither unless a double turn happens.
Entirely sure why some people aren't jazzed for Rhea versus Charlotte at this year's Mania. Their last singles match ruled, and this time it won't happen in deafening silence. Hooray! Admittedly, that match that ended in that
because you got the wrong people in the wrong alignment.
Maybe I do understand. Despite my great hatred for the pandemic era of wrestling, especially the early years where you could actually hear Michael Cole fucking breathing at ringside, I can't deny that this match ruled. Probably the best actual wrestling match of the entire event. I do very much wish that the Gronk hadn't been vibing on the balcony during the entrances, but we can't have everything in this life. A fun, occasionally brutal contest for Ripley's NXT Championship, and gosh, people were very cross when Charlotte won. I thought it might have worked if Charlotte had then made a new star in NXT. That kinda happened with Io Shirai, but not really. Either way, though, this match was great. It's technical, it's vicious. Charlotte working the knee for the entire match in prep for the figure 8. Rhea looking strong in defeat after 20 minutes. Here's hoping the rematch will be half as good. Number 6, the Intercontinental title ladder match, WrestleMania 31. Ah, yes, Daniel Bryan's consolation prize. To be fair, if Bryan had not been forced to relinquish the IC title belt after yet another injury, 2015 being the year that Cena had the US title and Bryan had the IC title, could have been a beautiful time for WWE's mid-card. The story leading into this match can charitably be described as Looney Tunes bullshit, with all the challenges becoming Wascally Wabbit and half-inching Bad News Barrett's title in an endless parade of comedy segments featuring guys like D-Bry, Luke Harper, and Dean Ambrose, who were far too good for this shit. However, as was the story of WrestleMania 31, despite a crap build, the match over-delivered with a series of wonderful spots, including Dean Ambrose getting fatalitied with a powerbomb through a ladder on the outside, and a closing sequence of headbutts that makes me actually wince in hindsight. Fun, painful, and an admittedly compromised feel-good moment. Makes sense why WWE go back to the multi-man ladder match for an opener time and time again. It just feels like a party. Number 5, the Money in the Bank ladder match, WrestleMania 23. Party, 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 party. As much as I like Money in the Bank having its own pay-per-view, pretty much the only gimmick match that suits having its own show, I do miss it being on the WrestleMania card, almost like a consolation prize for people who did good in the Royal Rumble, and a huge stage to spotlight a guy that the company had big plans for. Always a laugh, and this ladder match is one of my favorites because it's so goddamn violent. I mean, everyone remembers the Jeff Hardy Edge spot. That's a classic, diving from a ladder in the ring, through Edge, and another ladder on the outside, mutually assuring both men's destruction. But there's a host of other silliness in this near 20-minute epic. Punk getting busted open hard way with a ladder, a beautiful RKO from the top of the ladder on Matt Hardy, who spends a lot of this match actually being quite heel to Booker T's wife. That's a bit weird. Mr. Kennedy murdering Hornswoggle for the crime of existing. Yeah, it's the party.
Yep.
Number 4, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 35. WWE have opened a bunch of WrestleManias with a world title match, and honestly, I'm all for it. First match should feel big. Why not? I mean, you have to be a curmudgeon purist to think a world title is too good for a spot on the card where the audience are most fresh and excitable. Now, some of these world title matches have been a bit naff. 18 seconds, I'm looking your direction, but what a trademark moment, trademark patent pending. Edge versus Del Rio was all right, but the best of the bunch happened at Mania 35. Seth Rollins slaying the Beast for his Universal title in under 3 minutes after a protracted action movie beatdown. All killer, no filler in this one. Pretty much Brock Lesnar's MO for the past few years. The bookers have realized he doesn't need a prolonged match in order to wear his opponents down for hope spots to feel substantially so deadly that his opponents start with all purple body parts on 2K anyway. Similar to 18 seconds in terms of feeling like a huge deal and a huge moment, but played out long enough to feel like a substantial match. Seth is very good at WrestleMania. And speaking of, number 3, Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Finn Balor, WrestleMania 34. What is it with Seth Rollins of participating in the best triple threats in company history? Between this, the Royal Rumble 2015 one, the really good US title 3-way at Survivor Series last year, the Shield triple threat, he really is an architect of matches with lots of moving parts. As became a bit of a 2018 tradition, the IC title opened the pay-per-view and was up there for being the best match on the card, with Balor, Rollins, and The Miz leaving it all in the ring. It was a really good dynamic. 2 of the best worker baby faces in the company, Finn being especially pure heart and his entrance handpicked by the LGBT.
I forgot he was like repping the LGBTQ at one point too, being behind it. That was pretty cool of Finn at the time though.
Community to be their version of Captain Planet, and one chicken heel in between and desperately trying to pick his spot. Excellent story that. 15 minutes of sheer mid-card wonder, great near falls, electric pace, strong character dynamics, that frog splash from Rollins out of nowhere while Miz had Balor in the figure 4. That right there, that is my jam. That is my jam right there. Number 2, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, WrestleMania 10. Honestly, I went back and
the Battle of the Hearts, at WrestleMania 10,
forward between my top 2. So in the end, I went with my precious little feelings. Bret versus Owen is a prestige match. This we know, especially canonized since Owen's tragic passing, but it does live up to the hype. Like, it's a definitive match for technical wrestling fans. A perfect marriage of smart, believable combat psychology with the soap opera silliness of pro wrestling, but this time the story serves the wrestling rather than the other way around. Both men are desperate to lock in the sharpshooter because it's the Hart family move and this is fucking personal. However, neither man can lock in for ages because both men have studied it inside and out. Also, Owen's gone to the dark side and isn't afraid to cheat. Bret won't put up with Owen's bollocks, but even though his brother has strayed to the dark side, is Bret really willing to actually hurt his brother? All of these little story beats play out really well between the ropes, and even though some could see it as a little dry for their taste, it's required viewing for fans of WWE's second W. And number 1, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H,
Good pick for number 1. Good pick for number 1 because that was Dan Bryan Day on WrestleMania 30 anyway. So good pick for number 1 right there.
WrestleMania 30. Why? Because the monster video made me cry, still makes me cry, and it provides the perfect emotional framework for this wonderful match. Bret and Owen is all well and good and probably speaks to a certain generation of fan much more than this match. But man, I was invested in Daniel Bryan. This storyline came at the point where I was most interested, not only in some of these characters, Bryan, Punk, The Shield, but also in the behind-the-scenes office politicking of the wrestling business. The company not giving the main event to the hottest thing on its roster in real life and in kayfabe, a wrestler whose mat style and character I loved. It was completely absorbing, and watching this night-long story play out over the course of WrestleMania was a fucking treat. Monster, then this match, this brilliant match, Bryan wrestling her against the game, those people behind him, wrestling a main event quality match in the first match of the night, a fucking treat, and one of the best matches on one of the most creatively satisfying nights I've ever had as a modern wrestling fan. Yay, WrestleMania. Wrestling is a dangerous...
Alright, cool. There you have it. Top greatest WrestleMania open matches ever. For partsFUNknown though, because Cena and Austin 3 be part of that little little list of greatest opening match of WrestleMania as well too, and who could be a opening match this for day 2. Either way, good picks right there. I'll say for myself though, that number 1 spot. And you know, Owen Hart versus Bret is definitely a good for nostalgia, but that WrestleMania was damn Bryan nice, so it was nice for them to put that as the number 1 as well too. Though if they possibly do a top 10 closing match though, I can see his match with against Batista and Randy Orton being there as well too. But other than that, shout out to partsFUNknown as always with some awesome wrestling tidbits as well too. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.